Hi, this is solutions for CAT 24 Quant Section, slot 3. Now, why are CAT solutions important? Mainly because what happens is the concept repeats. I mean, somewhere the methods that you use for one sum could be used for the others. And normally you could consider that as part of the syllabus. If something new comes up in any particular paper, that could repeat later. So it's important. So there's some concepts like the in radius, circumradius. We know it has come in the past, so there's a chance that it could repeat in the future. Also, the methods like pattern formation, etc. normally gets repeated, so it helps. So recommended is to go to the CAT 24 solutions, understand the methods, and try to implement in different kind of sums. The moment you become comfortable with that, it will become easier for you to solve sums. So let's look at part 2. So normally, as I said earlier in the previous case, whenever you have large numbers, look at patterns. So you have 10 ratio 68, very large. Can't calculate 10 ratio 68. So just look at smaller numbers and find patterns. So if I look at 10 raised to 1, okay, and I find the remainder divided by 13, I see the remainder is 10. You can consider 10 as also minus 3. When you're talking about remainder in terms of divided by 13, 10 is 3 less than 13, so we can also consider minus 3. Now we take 10 raised to 2. 10 raised to 2 means 10 into 10. That means 10 the remainder gives you minus 3 into minus 3, which gives you remainder as 9. And 9 you can consider as minus 4. So 10 square gives you a remainder of minus 4, because it is 10 square is nothing but 10 into 10. 10 gives you a remainder of minus 3. So minus 3 into minus 3, 9, so minus 4. Further go 10 cube. 10 cube will give you maybe 10 square into 10 raised to 1. Which is nothing but minus 4 into minus 3, minus 12. Minus 12 is plus 1. When you divide by 13, when you get minus, say plus 12, plus 12 is minus 1. Minus 4 into minus 3 is plus 12. Plus 12 when you divide by 13 is also considered minus 1. If 10 raised to 3 gives you minus 1, so 10 raised to 6 is nothing but 10 cube into 10 cube. 10 cube gives you a remainder of minus 1 into minus 1 plus 1. So once you get 1, then it becomes easier. So 10 raised to 68 is nothing but 10 raised to 6 into 10. I mean 10 6 are 60, right? And plus 10 into 10 square. I know 10 raised to 6 gives you remainder 1. 1 raised to 10, which is remainder 1, right? And 10 square gives you remainder of 9 here. If you look at 10 square gives you remainder of 9. So the overall remainder becomes 9. That's the answer, B option. So any large numbers, try to find a pattern and try to get the answer. You don't have to know remainder theorems, but this simple way of trying to find the remainder should be a good enough way of solving. Know about it. Okay, now one more concept, and this is extremely important for geometry. So whenever you have any figure and there's not mentioned which figure out here, I mean here I mentioned a triangle, but you not mentioned which triangle. You can assume any triangle. So I'm assuming it to be equilateral triangle, let's say. That's the easiest thing to assume, equilateral triangle. All angle 60 is symmetrical, everything is fine. So we have A, B, C as equilateral triangle. Now, M and P are midpoints. So M is the midpoint of AB, N is the midpoint of BC, and P is the midpoint. So M and P. So when you join the midpoints, so basically it divides the whole figure into 4 equal parts if you look at it. So M and P, triangle M and P is 1/4 of ABC, triangle ABC area, right? Now we are drawing the medians out here. So it meets, if I draw medians, okay. So basically, now this becomes the midpoint of MP. Why midpoint of MP? Because symmetrical. The left side is symmetrical, right side. If you look at equilateral triangle, so it's midpoint. Symmetrical is one more good way of trying to solve in a geometry. Since it's symmetrical on both the sides, it should be same. I mean, normally symmetry is also used in algebra, but anyway, let's look at geometry. So MP is X midpoint, MN is Y and Z. Now, since again this is a joining the midpoints in an equilateral triangle, when you join the midpoint, as we see earlier, the triangle becomes 1/4 of here. So triangle XYZ is 1/4 of triangle MNP. Triangle MNP is 1/4 of ABC. So because it basically becomes 1/4 of 1/4, 1/16 of triangle ABC, which is nothing but 1/16 of 1440, which will give you 90 as the answer. So 90. So assuming an equilateral triangle becomes much easier. Actually, I spent a lot of time in explanation, but if you just understand midpoint, 1/4 area, again midpoint, 1/4 area. So 1/16 area or 1440, you get the answer is 90. Two successive increments. Now again, there is one formula which is there, which is also used quite a bit. So when you do increments like percentage increase from 1 and second, the overall increase is A plus B plus AB upon 100. You can use that. Okay, when the increment of A% in the first case and B% in the second case. This can also be used when the population is growing by A% in the first place and B% in the second place. It can be used by interest. The first year interest is 5%, second year interest is 10%. Then you use this formula AB. A and B can be same, A and B can be different. I can use the options out here. This first year increase is X, so second year increase will be double of it. So if I use the option, let's say 20 or 30 is easiest to solve. I'll start with easy always. So 20 plus 40 plus 20 into 40 upon 100. This becomes 68. But I want 87.5 because salary becomes 187.5%, means 87.5% increase I want. So more than 68 for sure. If I take 30 plus 60 itself becomes 90 plus something, becomes more than 90. So I know it should be less than 30. So it has to be less than 30 and more than 20. So option 25 and 27.5. I can take easiest to calculate. Take 25 plus 50 plus 25 into 50 upon 100. So look at 75 plus 12.5 will give you 87.5. Satisfies. So automatically C is the answer. Right? 25% satisfies. So C option is the answer. So normally when you substitute options, take easy value to calculate. Also, if you can do it mentally, simple calculation, that will help you to be faster. Trying to do everything by calci, it takes you a longer time to solve. A simple calculation like 10, 20 plus 40 plus 10, 20 into 40 upon 100 should be done mentally if possible. Sam can complete a job in 20 days while working alone. Mohit is twice as fast as Sam and thrice as fast as Anya. Means Mohit is twice, double and triple. So I can say Mohit is multiple of 6. So amount of work Mohit does, let's say, is 6 units. 6. Because it's double as fast as Sam. So in that case, Sam will do 3 units because Mohit is double as fast. If Mohit does 6 units of work, Sam will do 3 units of work and Anya will do. So Mohit is thrice as fast as Anya. So Anya will do 2 units of work. Now we know Sam takes 20 days to complete the work. So Sam does 3 units per day. So 20 days, that means the total work is 60. So this is total work. Total work is 60, which is Sam does 3 units per day into 20 days, which is total work is 60 units of work. Now let's try to look at the way. And now it is said that in the first, there is Sam and Mohit doing the work. If Sam and Mohit do the work, they do 9 units of work. Next, Sam and Anya does the work. So Sam and Anya does the work plus 3 plus 2 will give you 5 work. And last is Mohit plus Anya does the work. So Mohit plus Anya does the work plus 6 plus 2, 8 units of work. So when you do one cycle of work which is there, so add it up, you get 22 units of work. I need 60 units of work. So that is 22, 22, 22. We'll go more than 60. So let's say 22 and 22, which is 44 units of work. 44, then S and M will work 9, which will give you 53. Then S and A will work 5, which will give you 58. And then M and A will work. So it will get over in 2 cycles plus 2 more days plus the extra which is there. So when you get to 1 cycle, how much does S work? S does 3 units of day. So here he works for 2 days. So 2 cycles, he works for 4 days. Okay, 2 into 2 days, 4 days. Again he works for 2 days out here. The first 2 days he works. So totally he works for 6 days. Okay, 2 days into 3 cycles, he works for 6 days total. Each day he does 3 units of work. So 6 into 3, he does 18 units of work total. 18 out of 60 is the work done by Sam. If you divide it, it becomes 3 out of 10. B option. So first is a normal. This format is very important. Use an LCM method and trying to do work method. Flexible. A lot of cases you can use this format. So I find a work done per day, units per day. In LCM method, we first take days and then do units per day. In this method, you first do units per day and then days. But same thing it is. I mean the same format. So 3 units per day into 20 will give you 60 units of work. Total work. and then you can, based on that, find out the cycle of work which each one does. If you look at one cycle, all of them work 22, second cycle 22, 44, and then they have to do 2 more days plus a little extra. So Sam works for 6 days, 18 units of work out of 60. You get the answer. So there is 300-liter container. If you look at it as a container, 300 liters. Since they given percentage, 300 liters is also 100%, let's say. So initially you put some amount of water and then you have milk, which is there. Okay. Then you remove, suppose X or some amount of water, L amount of water or W amount of water initially. So you remove 2W amount and add 2W amount of water. They said finally milk is 72%. How does this 72% come out? 72% come out, let's say milk is X. The X amount of milk minus some percentage of milk you remove, you get that 72%. X% of milk initially is there, minus you have removed this, because you added water, so no milk is added further. But you have removed some amount of the 2W amount of liquid. From that you get 72%. Now you can assume numbers and solve. For example, if I take 72 as the milk, that means before 72 there must have been more than 72% milk. If I take 80% of milk initially, right, and then from that you remove 40%, because then 20% water, but you remove 40% water. So you remove 40% of 80. Okay, initially let there be 80% of milk, you remove 40% of 80. You will see it will be less than 72 for sure, not the answer. Which means the amount of milk has to be more than that. If I take initially 90% of milk and from that you remove 20% of 90, right? You remove 20% of 90, which is 18. You will get 72% satisfies. That means initially the milk is 90%, which means water is 10%. 10% of 300 liters will give you 30 liters of water initially. 10% of 300 liters will be 30 liters of water. You can form equation, but assuming values is much faster. Normally in the examination, the numbers are easy to calculate. So you can always substitute easy values and check out. You will get the answer quickly. Anyway, if I say there is X liters of milk initially, I'm taking X or X% of milk, let's say. Okay. You can take in percentage or you can take in liters. It doesn't matter. Now, how much water is there? It is 100 minus X% of water. Right. Now, you remove twice of this. You're removing. Okay, so you're removing twice of 100 minus X, you're removing percentage. Or you can calculate liters. If I take liters, let's say X liters, in that case this will be 300 minus X liters, and you're removing twice of that. So the amount that remains, that means you're removing 300 minus 2 into 100 minus X is what your proportion of milk that remains. That remove, you will get the answer. So if I take in percentage, for example, X% into 100 minus 2 into 100 minus X should give you 72%. I mean, if I calculate X out here as 90, basically I'm putting this formula itself, X is 90, 100 minus 20, 80%, 90 into 80% is 72%, you get the answer. You can also solve this by equation and try to solve. Divide by 2, so X% is X upon 100, 100 minus, if I expand this, 100 minus 200 and plus 2x, so 2x minus 200 upon 100 is equal to 72 upon 100%. 100 gets cancelled, take the 100 that side and divide by 2, you will get x square minus 100x is equal to 3600, so minus 50x because you're dividing by 2. Okay. So it technically becomes 50. 100 gets cancelled and so on. And then you form a quadratic equation, you'll get the answer. You'll get the roots of as such as 90 and this one. So you know x initially is 90%. If x is 90%, then automatically based on that you'll get the answer. Right. So here it becomes 100 minus 2x. Here I did a mistake. It's 100 minus 2x because it's removing 2x%. So amount you're removing is 100 minus 100 minus 2x. So this becomes 100. So this becomes 50. 50 when you solve it, the roots are 90 and minus 40. because the equation becomes x square minus 50x minus 3600 equal to 0. From that 90% is milk, so 10% is water, 10% of 300 will become 30 liters. Thank you.